Hello and welcome to Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets, presented by Prize Picks here on the Mayo Media Network. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to go through April 1st, Thursday, NHL action. DJ, it's April Fool's Day. What if I told you that the Sabres on Wednesday night took a 3-goal lead into the third period against the Philadelphia Flyers? Like, what do you think happened, buddy?
I think they won their first game in 18 straight losses. Feels so good.
What an unbelievable turn of events. The Sabres winning a game. So take that, Chris Meany, the haters out there. The Sabres are back, and they're coming for dead last still. But
yeah, I mean the cup is a little out of reach. But you don't lose 18 games for nothing, and I think as we'll get to. It's amazing to think that Linus Ullmark, the season starter, has a 6-5-3 record, and they are so far in the basement that it is laughable. But
yeah,
we don't want to get mad. Today is a day of joy and celebration.
Absolutely.
We enter spring, things are coming to life again, like the Sabres offense. So, with all that being said, are you ready to get to better teams and better places?
Yeah, no, we do have 9 games here on Thursday, so we'll get to those. Before we do, though, I do want to talk to you about Prize Picks. They are the title sponsor of this show, so be sure you head on over to prizepicks.com and sign up using promo code MMN, as in Mayo Media Network. Over there, you can make cross-sport entries. So you pick player fantasy over-unders, over their fantasy score or under their fantasy score. You can do that for hockey, of course. That's what we talk about. But you can also do it for baseball, for basketball, for a number of other sports, Rocket League. So you can put in a lot of different entries, have a lot of fun. So in hockey, it's pretty simple. You get 3 points for a goal, you get 2 points for an assist, and you get a half point for a block shot and a shot on goal. You'll see listed next to a player their fantasy score. If they hit over that or under that, whichever one you pick, you win. So be sure to head on over to prizepicks.com and use promo code MMN and maybe use it, for MLB opening day because it's opening day in baseball. So have some fun over there. But DJ, again, we're here to talk about hockey. So we've got 9 games on the docket. Let's keep it going. Pittsburgh at Boston is the first game we are going to cover here. This game to me, Boston minus 130, having just welcomed back Brad Marchand. Pittsburgh potentially dealing with, the loss of their goalie, Tristan Jarry, due to injury. Kind of feels to me like this is a Bruins money line game. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think the Bruins are actually getting even more back. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I had a tweet about that they actually should be returning to basically full health. They are getting potentially DeBrusk back.
Corrali, yeah.
Corrali skated. DeBrusk did not. So I think Corrali could be back. Not that that's the biggest lift in the world, but as they're getting healthier, even more to like about the Bruins here. I think that they're definitely the side I want to go on. And the 5.5, I think it's a little bit low. I like this game over. I think that Boston 1 is my favorite stack of the night over on DraftKings. I will have it, even though it's super expensive, but they're just a great unit. And I think they should, control whoever they go against in Pittsburgh. So I'm very in on Boston and the over. Matt, is there anything else you like here in this game?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about some of these player props, and Pittsburgh and Boston actually do have kind of unique one-off type opportunities, which are, to me, perfect for goal scoring odds. And you look at their top power plays for both these teams. You have Jared McCann filling in for Evgeny Malkin, performing admirably well in that spot. So I like his anytime goal odds, top power play guy. And also for Boston, Nick Ritchie. They got Marchand back, but Ritchie's still going to be on that second line, still going to be on that top power play. And I think he's just a pretty good goal scorer. So especially if you like the over here, I'm shading toward the Bruins, but you can get those odds right around plus 300 for both of those guys. And I just think that both those, are pretty good chances to take. And there's also a chance that both hit, if you do put single wagers on both. So anyone else in this game that you were thinking of?
Yeah, I think, Bergeron last game, he had the 8-shot on goal game, and that might be an outlier. I'm not sure if that's going to happen more often than a couple times a year, but if it's 2.5, I think you take that. I think that his, in the past few games here, at least if we go through the past 5, he's been one of the better rate shooters in the league, actually. Getting 20 minutes against Pittsburgh, who they allow shots. I mean, it should, I think, at least hit the 3, if not more. Pastrnak is the main guy here that shoots, but I think they're distributing the wealth okay with all 3 of these guys on the ice together. They just should control the play, control the possession, and have a lot of opportunity for all of them to hit their overs. But with that being said, that's kind of my favorite props. Maybe considering a Bergeron double point game. Other than that, I think he's my favorite center on the entire slate. We could move over to the next game unless we have anything else to add.
No, I agree with you. I think Bergeron should offer a lot of value here. I think, you want to get him when he's in one of his hot swings, because we know historically he's a great rate shooter as well. It's not just Pastrnak here. So I like to see that 8-shot game, and I like to think that he keeps that going here. So we can head on over to the Rangers heading into Buffalo. Buffalo playing on a back-to-back, but both those games are at home. The Rangers come in at minus 210 here. The Buffalo Sabres are red hot right now, like red hot. There's not been a better team. There has not been a team better in the month of April than the Buffalo Sabres.
No, undefeated on March 31st. Their last regulation win in March was March 31st, 2018. So they almost made it a full 3 years without winning a regulation game in March. They had to ruin it. Classic Sabres, ruining the bit that I had prepared. They also did not quite get to the Canadian drinking age as far as the amount of losses, but they could drink in Quebec with 18. So good for them. I just, personally, as I've mentioned, and if you look at me right now, I'm wearing my Ryan Miller, throwback Royal jersey that they wore back. I don't remember when it doesn't matter. They wore it with the Slug jersey originally, and it was the best jersey they had. I don't bet on the lines. I don't take the Sabres and I don't take the other team, and I probably should have taken the other team a lot more, but it's not the way I operate. I just don't want to do that and double down on the pain. I think more than anything, it's the over. Unless if Olmark's in that, then I think I might shade the under. I think he makes that much of a difference. They don't have another goalie to start that is even remotely NHL quality. So like I mentioned kind of before, Omar, Hutton's out. Hutton should not play no matter what. He's written before the year started, the Sabres have above 905 goaltending behind Olmark. They have a chance. Their goaltending behind Olmark has been well below 900. And if Olmark's in net, he is about 920 save percentage goalie. If Tokarski's in net, if anyone else is, they're going to give up goals. Michael Hoser, I think, is the other guy that's at least in the realm of starting for them.
It's bad.
You jam the over. You just jam it. The Rangers are going to score 4 goals. The Sabres are going to score 2 or 3, and you move on with your life. It really makes that much of a difference in my eyes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we might not get that confirmation early just because it's a back-to-back. So maybe it's one where, you want to check in around 6:30, see if we get the coach saying anything before 7 o'clock puck drop. But as far as, the odds go, obviously this is a spot where we're not expecting the Sabres to win. It definitely has felt like lightning in a bottle, putting up sticks against the Flyers. But, we all know that the Flyers have their own host of problems, and the Rangers are certainly well aware of that by themselves.
Their own ghost of problems. Am I right? The Flyers, their own ghost of problems.
Yeah.
Shane Gostisbehere.
One of the more interesting, league-wide stories was him going unclaimed through waivers, especially when a team like, Florida lost Ekblad for the year. But, whatever.
Boston. Honestly, there's so many teams that I was like, if they could just get a little bit of cap room.
I don't know.
But
cap room. Boston didn't have it. But anyway, anyway, we were talking about the Rangers here. So I think there's a lot to like on the Rangers side. Obviously, it's not that surprising. But I think I'm building around Artemi Panarin over Mika Zibanejad. As far as the shot props go, I don't think I'm touching them on Panarin just because he's been so gifted as a playmaker lately. Yeah. And it's actually been Ryan Strome as a sneaky shooter. He's got 29 shots over his last 10. It hasn't been great the last few games shots-wise, but, when you're playing with a guy of Panarin's caliber and you're playing on that top power play like Strome is, I don't really see a way I can pass that up. I'm looking at his to score goal odds here, plus 255. Colin Blackwell is plus 240. Colin Blackwell, like I get it, he was okay, but right. Now it's like, why? Like just take that Strome value. I think even a guy like Lafreniere, like he's just not been doing it. And Strome, I don't remember the last time I've said anything good about Ryan Strome, but he's putting up good numbers. So I think I'm willing to ride it just because of how good Panarin's been and how good their power play is. Adam Fox. So like, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best angle maybe to take is if you can get the Ryan Strome to get a point and it's plus in any capacity. Like we don't have it right now, unfortunately, and FanDuel is probably going to be the site that's going to actually have it. If it's like 0.5 plus 120 or something. And this guy has 33 points in 35 games, playing with Panarin and Capo. So like his to score, I think is fair, but I wouldn't put that in a big parlay just because those other two guys are probably like
also
more often than not. Yeah. They also definitely, and then you're just sitting there like Ryan Strome shoots and it gets tipped or, rebound or whatever. And you're just like, punching a hole in the wall. So I'm probably not going to take that myself. I think really the best bet in this game might actually end up being Reinhart's shot prop, in my opinion, just because he's getting so much run. And I think the Rangers should give up enough shots against.
He finally played center.
Yeah, I know. They haven't done that since like 2014.
And they won 6-1. So I don't know. I'm not the coach.
Yeah, you're not the coach. I think Reinhardt's in a premium spot here, though, that at least hit 3 shots. Like that is probably going to be a very easy bet for me to make. That's probably the best prop here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that about covers it. I love Strome for DFS too. Like that's sort of where I'm looking. Strome, Panarin, Kakko. Like Kakko's just so cheap it makes it work well. And then Strome is honestly underpriced for how he's been performing as of late. And Panarin, he's one of the top end guys on the slate, but he's also been playing like it. And given the matchup and everything, I'm all in on that side. Regardless if Ullmark starts, honestly. So I will go bring us over to Washington at the Islanders. The Islanders at home minus 125 here. Washington plus 108. They were actually one of my favorite money lines on Tuesday. Started out hot, did not end it. Nope. They did not end it well. The Rangers came back, stormed back for the second time. This time they actually pulled off the win. So I don't know how I'm feeling about the odds here. There were some player angles I like to look at, but anything on like the over under here at 6 or the money lines here that you wanted to mention?
I mean, I want to side with the Capitals again. I think that, they're 23-8-4. I mean, I think they are good. Like it's not like they should lose this game, but the Islanders are also, it's two good teams and nearly a pick 'em. I think I just slightly want the Capitals, but I'm not going to put money on it. Honestly, I think it's such a toss up. I'm more interested in the under. I think that the ability of the Islanders to shut down the top line in Washington, and once you get past that top line, you're really just hoping and fighting and claiming for Washington. 2, 3, and 4 to find something. And do they have it in them? Maybe, but I like the under here. I think under 6 is very fair. So I'd rather take that angle on it. And, the shot props are the shot props. I'm not sure if there's any that are really going to be like, I'm going to be way high on. I'd rather honestly just bet on Kuznetsov to score at 325, playing with Ovian on the first power play, just because that's where all the offense is going to go. And at plus 325, I mean, that is just not fair for a guy that has been shooting a fair amount, 4 shots, 2 shots, 4 shots, 3 shots on goal in the past 4. He should just have better, get a little bit more respect than that in my eyes.
Yeah, I did want to mention one thing about the Capital side of this. The Islanders very obviously try to take away Ovi on the power play. And I don't know if this is related to that. I don't have the ability to go back and like actually check like every game log or whatever. But in 3 games versus the Islanders, John Carlson has 2 goals, 3 assists, 10 shots, and 6 blocks. He's averaging 20 DraftKings points in 3 matches versus the Islanders. That's just a little eye-opening to me. I did not see that coming. But there's also a very, you saw it in the bubble last year where Trotz was basically just gluing a guy to Ovi's hip on the power play and making them play 4-on-3 otherwise. So maybe there's something like that going on that could explain John Carlson's, frankly, dominance versus team. But as far as player props, I think that might be an angle I'm willing to ride. If you can find a John Carlson shot prop, if you can find, point props, John Carlson might be slightly more involved than like his, averages would indicate, just due to them selling out to stop Ovi. So that's really the one angle that I would take here. If you made me pick a side, I would side with the Capitals. But I don't think that's one of my favorite bets of the night here. So let's move from there to another sort of surprising result from Tuesday night. Columbus at Tampa. Tuesday, Columbus took home the victory. Tampa lost 3 in a row now. Minus 265 here, though. DJ, are you deterred? Any thoughts on the Tampa money line or maybe even a puck line bet with, a revenge-seeking Tampa team?
I mean, I was so in on Tampa last time we recorded. I was like, Columbus is dead. We both were. I mean, honestly, I didn't want to throw you under the bus here, but we both were like, yeah, Columbus has died. Like, they are no longer a team that cares, and they come out and win the game. So, yeah, I want to get back on Tampa, but I mean, first off, they burned a lot of people in DFS. I mean, I had a lot of Johnson point, and they combined for a solid 3 DraftKings points. Really didn't quite get you where you wanted to go. I don't see any reason why you couldn't go back to it. There's potential that Columbus will be without Oliver Brookstrand, one of their most skilled players, one of their best shot takers. He's out with an illness that is non-COVID related, but we don't know if he's not going to play or not yet. He did not practice on Wednesday. So that does, definitely hurt their upside. I think it, leans me even closer to the under here, which I like. 5.5. I might not get there. I'm not touching the money line. There's no sense putting money on Tampa, but I don't see them going back-to-back at home losses against Columbus. That seems pretty egregious to put money on. So, yeah, slightly on the under, kind of out on this game in general, more or less.
Yeah,
so
something feels a little off with some of these Tampa forwards. Like Steven Stamkos only had 20 shots in his last 10 games. Victor Hedman putting up a 10-shot on goal effort in that loss on Tuesday. Like,
I've been riding it on goal prop. It's been great fun.
Yeah, no, it's been good. And, even before that, Hedman did have some pretty strong shot numbers, especially shot attempt numbers. But I just can't imagine it's optimal to have, a guy like Hedman firing from the point all the time. So, I do kind of feel like the under here does make sense. Even if Tampa wins, obviously it could be another, 3-1 type game. I don't hate that at all. I was off this game for DFS pretty much entirely on Tuesday. And frankly, I'll probably just be the same again. But on the Columbus side, if Bjorkstrand does play, you could talk me into one of his player props. But given the uncertainty there, I actually do think Cam Atkinson will offer some positive value just as far as player prop goes. He only hit 2 shots last game, but he did play 20 minutes. Especially if Columbus is trailing, you would expect them to push the tempo more offensively. So I do think that we'll probably see, a plus 115-ish line on shots for Cam Atkinson. And that sounds like a pretty good bet to me, despite the relatively difficult matchup. So let's go from there over to Detroit at Florida. Detroit got just dragged on Tuesday. I will wear that L proudly. The Columbus Detroit series, we thought we learned something, but in this season, 2021, there's absolutely nothing to learn. It's just got to react on the fly. So we did the best we could. Didn't work out for us. I'm not going back to it. DJ, what about you here? Plus 205 on Detroit. No Barkov, no Hornqvist, no Ekblad. What are we doing here?
Not betting on the money lines is what we're doing here. It seems pretty easy. Like I said last show, I will not put any of my hard-earned money on Detroit. That just is a recipe for pain. Won't do it again here. I think that I see why people might do it. Florida's banged up, but they're finding a way to get through, and I'm just not doing it. No, thank you. So I think it's just not worth the bet to put money on Florida either, though. Like the variance in this with those guys out is not being replicated by Vegas. They're just like, well, Florida's really good and Detroit's bad, so whatever. Here's your money line, and no, thank you. I slightly lead towards the under, but not very strongly. It's probably not worth the bet just because Detroit's goaltending is really bad. It was a 4-1 last game, so the under did hit. I like it. I think it's fair, especially if Barkov and obviously Ekman's going to be out. But I'm just not strong enough on it on either side to say like with any certainty that it couldn't happen. I would rather just kind of take pieces of this in DFS like Carter Verhaeghe, etc., and ignore this for props pretty much entirely. Even a guy like Huberdeau that's seeing 24 minutes just doesn't shoot enough for me to feel strong on that prop. I'm wondering what props we're going to get. I feel like I'm worried on DraftKings we're still going to have Barkov just on there because they are way too lazy to change it.
And technically he's not ruled out. But
he's not ruled out. He might play. Yeah, he definitely might play.
Yeah.
But like they have Barkov Hornqvist like every time, and I bet it's the same again. So it's just going to be a very non-starter for me. The guys that were shooting with all these injuries are Verhaeghe. Vetrano saw the top power play unit. We started with Tippett. It went to Vetrano. I was hoping to get Vetrano at something better than plus 200 to score, but just kind of seems like another bet that's just like, really? The guy was not going to see the minutes. I'm just not. He might score. Like, he's a good shooter, whatever. Not going to put the money on it. This they pretty much tried to price this almost not a consideration for me, and there's really nothing I'm clinging to here.
Look, if this Carter Verhaeghe plus 140 to score line is reciprocated with a no bet on other sites, I know DraftKings specifically doesn't do it. I might be tempted at like minus 200 to pull that trigger because I get it. He's good. Sure. I'll whatever.
Yeah. But then Barkov's at like 658 and you're
true. But like
he's playing
with Nola Chari. Like, like what are we like? I don't know. I don't see it
so much. Like I know like 5 goals in 3 games. It's kind of like, you're really trying to, talk
this just seems over. Yeah, it seems really overreactionary to me just to price him at plus 140 to score a goal. That's all I'll say about it. So
yeah, I think if you're last thing I was just gonna say, if you're stacking in DFS, if they do 11-7 again, don't get cute with this. Just like play Huberdeau, Verhaeghe, and Yandel and move on because those guys are seeing all the minutes, and it's the lines aren't going to say that. The lines are going to like the actual lines you're going to see on like daily faceoff, etc., are probably going to talk you out of something like that, but it's not working that way. Like they're putting their best players out there to win the game. So if you like it all to be tight, just put Verhaeghe, put Huberdeau, and maybe Wenberg as like a 3-man unit. All guys are going to do over 20 minutes, power play 1. And I think Yandel actually might have a little bit more equity than his price indicates. He did see 19 minutes with a ton of power play time, but if this game's at all close, if you want to get really contrarian and put like, Larkin on the other side or something, I couldn't talk you out of it just because, both teams are pretty porous right now and banged up and not good.
All right. Yeah. A lot to keep an eye on there for sure leading up until game time. So we do have, one more 7:00 game on the docket, and that is Montreal at Ottawa. Montreal fresh off of, a dominant win versus Edmonton.
Murder.
I got a tweet. Edmonton gave up a goal pretty much immediately, and it was like, great start to that bet of Edmonton to go down early and then win, and they just didn't do the second part. They forgot to do the comeback part. They I think they went home. Actually, it was like the go up or the go down and go home bet that actually would have hit. So here we're getting Montreal in Ottawa minus 210. Plus 175 on the Ottawa side of things kind of interests me. It's one of those things where I just don't feel like Montreal is that threatening of an offense, but Ottawa in goal is also pretty threatening. Just they're probably going to roll out Gustafsson or Anton Forsberg. Like, obviously not a great time to be an Ottawa goalie.
No,
admittedly, both those guys in very, very, very small samples have been kind of good. So if I'm going money line, I'm siding Ottawa, but I might just side to a puck line or something. Over under 6. I don't know. How do you feel about this game? I just get a bad sense from it. Like almost the same deal that happened on Tuesday where Montreal got 2 bottom 6 goals right away and then really just sort of iced the game away. They got a couple of, Gallagher late, but it just doesn't really strike my fancy, I don't think.
I mean, I'm not going to bet it, the over-under on this game, because I think 6 is like the perfect number, and you're really talking about a bounce. I think that Montreal could, potentially put up 6 on their own. I really like them a lot in this game to get the win. In the last game, it was kind of anyone that wants to dominate Edmonton was more than able to do it. Like every player did great, but the top line of Montreal didn't get a goal. I really like them to, bounce back. That Suzuki, Drouin, Anderson unit, I'm kind of considering about the top line. All correlated on the power play as well with Weber, by the way, if you're stacking that up. I'm really in on that. So I think I like Ottawa to win. I mean, not Ottawa, Montreal to win. And I'm staying away from the over-under because I could see Ottawa, just not scoring at all and losing like 4-0. That's kind of the way I'm looking at this game. So yeah, I think Montreal pretty handily wins.
Yeah, so if you like that, the puck line plus 123 probably in play.
Yeah.
The good thing about this is we made reference to it on the Tuesday show, but once we get Montreal to overtime, they're basically an auto loss. So if you bet the puck line, that takes overtime out of the equation anyway. So you're not really sweating much if that game does go to overtime, and you are getting some extra equity there. So that might be what I do. Honestly, I don't hate that idea. Just going puck line, taking some plus value and hoping for either an empty net goal or, like you say, just sort of a complete dismantling. As far as players go individually, we're almost certainly not going to get player props on a guy like Philip Deneau, but I really do have some interest in him in DFS, which is weird to hear come out of my mouth because it's not something that normally happens. But he's a guy who's playing on that top power play unit. He's not with Tatar and Gallagher. He's actually with Suzuki, Anderson, Drouin, and Shea Weber. And he's also killing penalties. So while a guy like Brendan Gallagher, just only gets 15 minutes a night, his center's actually getting, 18, 19, 20 minutes Deneau does because of his defensive responsibility. When you add on the offensive role to that, I could certainly see myself stacking up that top power play in DFS. So I'll sort of make that as like my one takeaway here as far as like players are concerned. But I don't really have a lean for any player props or anything like that at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tim Stützle to score is plus 400, and he's the first power play. So if you do like Ottawa to get a couple goals,
yeah, I like that.
Very much involved. Other than that, I think it's look at the shot props. Feel like if you I think Anderson, Gallagher, etc. If you like any of those, I think they're more than fair.
All right. God, I don't even want to talk about this game, just how frustrating it was to watch on Tuesday. Carolina at Chicago. We run it back. We're just running it back.
Right back.
Carolina minus 162. Like,
I mean,
goalie happens
so much. It's pure agony.
So, I don't really know how to dissect what went wrong. Like you said, they got outplayed heavily. The Chicago was down, I think, 2 to 0.7 in terms of expected goals on the game at 5-on-5, like not even including special teams. And, they outscored Carolina because sometimes goalies just do that. Lankinen had a heck of a game. I'm not too worried about that. Over under here, though, of 6, if you like the Chicago side a bit, I think you can take the over 6 and feel pretty good about it. I don't see, Carolina being held off the board again. As far as favorite play in this game, Andrei Svechnikov, he went down in price, even though he did score a goal on DraftKings.
We don't talk about it much.
And you're going to get a shot prop. He just feels like a smash here. He was actually much lower owned than I thought. Like Marty Necas definitely did take up a lot of the, discussion around that team. And given their loss and given Trocheck's, insertion back into the lineup, kind of feel like now you stack up Trocheck, Svechnikov, and Jesper Fast, and, you get going. So, and check, make sure that's the line still given their loss. But that's sort of where I'm leaning on this one. But any counterpoints there?
Yeah, no. I like Carolina again. I really like their money line here at -162. It feels not correct. Every money line against Chicago doesn't feel correct when they play Tampa or Carolina. So that makes a lot of sense to me to just grab that on its own. It's probably gonna be right around what the Svechnikov shot on goal prop is. I think they're both pretty fair to hit in the same capacity. So I could go either way. I slightly like the over. I still think Chicago can find a couple goals here. Maybe 2 or 3 if they, and they only had like 21 shots on net last game. So, I don't know if they'll go much over 20, around 24, 25. But Carolina is going to see probably, again, I think a similar 30 shot on goal night. So I love the pace in this game. I love the matchup. I love how cheap Carolina seemed. I mean, cheap comparatively to what I think their expectation is, as you mentioned on DraftKings. And then just, especially off shot prop is probably the easiest, but not for nothing, Dougie Hamilton has actually been 5th in the league. You're tied. So he's tied with Matthews and McKinnon for iCar per 60 in the past 10. So I feel like if you want to get a little bit out there with a shot prop, that's the guy. It is tough though, because defenders will shoot more and not get it on net at a similar interval, I guess. If you just think like they're shooting from further away more often, then obviously them getting to the net is tougher. So looking at iCar per 60 for defensemen doesn't always correlate like it does for forwards. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, I don't have too much more to add on that.
I tried to put that
right.
Really easy to understand verbiage, and I feel like I probably didn't do a great job. So yeah. Did it make sense, you thought?
It worked for me, but
yeah,
maybe
basically if you look at a defender and their iCar is really high, that doesn't mean that they're going to get the same amount of shots on goal as a forward. Easiest way to put it. But I still like the prop just fine.
Yeah, to me, that just don't be cute, Svechnikov all the way. But yeah, that's not as exciting. That's just what we do on the show. We bet Svechnikov over, and they actually he hit it last game. So good on you if you did that instead of betting on the Carolina side of things. But I don't have much on the Chicago side. Kirby Dach didn't wind up centering Kane, but that was also just they were defending a lead. So his ice time honestly probably shouldn't have been cut as much as it was, given they're trying to mold him into a dynamic two-way player and all that. But I think I'm playing Kirby Dach if I need a cheap center on DraftKings. He's still on that top power play. He made value, he hit 11 on DraftKings. So, it's just one of those places where, the minutes weren't there, but I think that was in part due to the kind of odd game script where just Carolina couldn't buy a goal. And I don't see that happening here. So give me some Kirby Dach as well. Let's go to Nashville hosting Dallas. Nashville at home plus 108. I'm kind of feeling that, but this Dallas side, man, Rupe Hintz, whatever's bothering him, he should just not get it fixed. I get surgery might make him feel better off the ice, but my God, on the ice, he's been so good. I don't even know what to make of it. So what are your thoughts here on this matchup and maybe on, Rupe Hintz and his friends?
Yeah, well, Hintz is plus 285 to score, and he is shooting like a madman. I mean, he is the focal point of shots other than Miro Heiskanen, who is just a tick above Dougie Hamilton in the last 10 in iCar per 60. So I love that mini stack. This game, the biggest concern is it is a 5 over under right now. So going crazy with this in DFS is going to be tough because, I think that Vegas is, there's a reason why the house always wins, and I don't like to go crazy on 5 over unders as far as game stacking, etc. You never know what's going to happen, though. Obviously, that's why they play the game. But Miro and Hintz as a 2-man is just really strong in my eyes. I am going to take a Hintz shot on goal prop if I can find it. I think you have DraftKings is just they don't know what to do with Dallas, and they never know what to pick. But if Hintz or Heiskanen are on there, I'm gonna probably jam it in. Pavelski has been the bane of my existence. The guy just refuses to hit when I take him. He hasn't. I don't think he's hit a shot on goal prop in like 10 games.
No, it's weird because he's playing with Hintz and Robertson right now, and those two guys are just going nuclear. Yeah, they're going nuclear, and Pavelski's just not doing much of anything. So I don't know. Yeah. It's weird because beginning of the year, no one else is doing anything, and it was just Joe Pavelski dragging them to some sort of offensive output. Now it's the complete opposite. So I'm not really sure what to make of that. I do agree. I think that's a great find on the Hintz goal prop. Like that just seems mispriced, plus 285.
Yeah. Maybe a Jamie Benn under too. I think on not getting a point is pretty strong here. Not in the first line anymore. Was he on the first power play? No, I gotta. He wasn't. No, he wasn't. He definitely wasn't. It was the first line, and so he's not even on the first power play. So depending on where, but I check a couple sites, but like some sites really like him a lot. If you can bet like him to not get a power play point, it's probably be terrible odds, but throw that in a parlay because he's not in the first unit, but you never know, they'll switch it back out. So just throw it in the blender. But just a note there that he was on the first power play last game. He has been for a while now. So the odds are definitely like favoring him. Like he's plus 255 to score. Like that's not as big. It's better than Hintz. And like Hintz is way more likely to score in my eyes. So
this game is at a 5 over under, and to some extent, I get it. Like these teams don't have a ton of pace, but I'm also seeing a lot of, offensive talent here and not a ton of strong defensive play as of late. So I could probably be talked into betting the over here. Like it's just the modern day NHL. Like 5 goals is just, that's just so low. And this doesn't feel like one of the worst possible matchups, just given the way these teams are playing at the moment. So that might be my favorite bet. But if I needed to go like longer shots, you already mentioned Hintz. And then on the Nashville side, Ilya Tolvanen, he's just he hasn't even been putting up the shots lately, which is sort of weird and whatever else. But he's been putting up the points. And Tolvanen probably is one of the best shooters in the Nashville system. Forsberg out week to week now. So, it's going to be the Tolvanen show. He's going to be top line. He's going to be featured on the power play. So I really like anything to do with him, even at pretty lofty, to score odds of plus 225. Like he's just a really, really, really good player, I think. So anything else here before we get to the last game of the night?
No, I think it's time for Minnesota Vegas. So obviously a lot of these games are repeats from Tuesday. We got a couple different ones, but Minnesota Vegas back to back for both of them. They didn't play each other, but they're on a back to back. Vegas is the favorite at home. I don't think that's much of a surprise. Minnesota's been kind of the clear 3 in that division. But what do you think here on this night? Both teams on a back-to-back. Minnesota getting a little bit of reinforcements lately with Johansson and everything. The lines of Fiala's kind of come back to life. But do you like Vegas here at home?
Yeah, we don't have perfect clarity on what happened on Wednesday night, but as of right now, both these teams are losing to inferior teams in the Kings and the Sharks for Vegas and Minnesota respectively. So we'll see what changes here in terms of player personnel and all that. But just at first glance, I really think that this Minnesota side might be underpriced at plus 148. I don't know if I trust the Knights just yet. Like we saw that Colorado just put up such a big number on both these teams, honestly. But especially those, most recent, it was Vegas, where it just felt like, obviously Minnesota didn't belong in the same ice, but Vegas didn't look much better versus Colorado. And, Vegas is working through some things. I kind of feel like minus 175 is far too long on this team, despite being at home. And, just a sludgy road type matchup for both these teams. I could be talked into it despite the travel for Minnesota here. So I'm siding with the Wild. That doesn't mean though in DFS, I don't think that Vegas 2 isn't like one of the best values. I think they already hit on Wednesday, but it's one of those things where I think there's room for both these teams to produce offensively. So what are your thoughts here? Maybe the over under or anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I kind of like the under a little bit, but I'm not super strong on it because I really think that Patches is going to get back to form. I'm kind of waiting for that breakout game from him. I'm hopeful that he'll be on the first power play, but they do kind of roll 2 units, and I think either way he should be a focal point shooting wise on either side. So I'm really liking him to get back to his shot prop any day here. He's was kind of up at the 3.5 range for a while and kind of hitting pretty consistently. takes, we missed him for not too much time, and now he's kind of back and not hitting it. So I'm hoping that we can get some really good odds on that. Because I think he'll get back to form. I'm hoping maybe even we get him at like a 3 on FanDuel or something. And, just kind of, I think he more than likely hits 3. And then we're just kind of hoping for the fourth one to get us over. But I like him a lot. I think that it's not him and Stone are as cheap as they may have been in quite some time. I'm really hopeful that they get some power play correlation that we're not expecting. I think they're going to be super under-owned on DFS, which is probably fair because, like I said, the under might be the value here. But that line is talented enough to get 3 goals and win a slate without any doubt. So I'm pretty high on the Pacioretty shot prop for sure.
Yeah, just without that top power play job, I don't know how much I want to be investing in, say, like the second unit. Worth noting on that second unit, Alex Pietrangelo came off of LTIR Wednesday, did play. Would expect to see him Thursday as well. And, you're looking for a sneaky correlation. Patches and Pietrangelo, that could work. So that's sort of my one thought on the Vegas side, if I'm not just going Vegas to taking the obvious value in DFS and running with it. But, that's neither here nor there, I think. So my lean is definitely Minnesota. So let's recap this with a few of our favorite bets. As DJ has alluded to, we unfortunately just aren't getting the player props. Like, we're recording this late the night before, and we normally have them well in time. But I guess with MLB and everything else, so we're flying a little bit off the cuff. But at this point in the season, we know what we're getting for most of these. Generally speaking. So I think we can speak
normally
to
by now we have it. By
of
now,
course, yeah.
I mean, like sometimes we've started a little bit late and they come out during the show.
Yeah.
My God, still nothing. So, I'll let you start if you're ready.
All right. Yeah. It's been the first one for basically every show, but we like money more than we like creativity. So Andrei Svechnikov over 2.5 shots still remains the shot taker on their top power play. One of the best rate shooters in the entire NHL in a fantastic matchup. And he gets Vinny Trocheck back as his center. So, I think all things point up for Andrei Svechnikov.
I think that is a very unique bet that I haven't heard yet, but I'm in on it, Matt. Thanks you for digging deep and finding that for us. Really went out on a limb. I think that, my favorite easy kind of money bet might end up actually being the Boston side here at -130, if you can get it around there, because I really like them to win this game. And that is, I think at first I wasn't as high on it. Then we went through the whole slate and I realized just how good that actually is for one of the best teams in the league. I know they've been a little bit poor lately, but I think with, think everyone coming back, they're going to be back to form and you're going to kind of be kicking yourself for not taking this line while you had it at home. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that seems pretty strong to me.
Yeah, no, I like that. All right, let's see. Another one, I don't know if I want to go all in on Ottawa, but let's take the Ottawa puck line, have some fun here. Just because I don't know that Montreal will score a ton of goals. I don't see them as that sort of team. Maybe I'm wrong. And I certainly will have some shares of it in DFS because they don't need a ton to pay off their salaries there. But just as far as value is concerned, Ottawa's well rested and all that. So let's get some crazy odds here. Let's see. Puck line -148. It's obviously going to be, but it's +1.5. So you're getting the OT loss. You're getting a 1 goal loss. You're getting a tight game too. So I think the Sens can keep this one close.
Yeah, if I was taking a puck line, I would just say Carolina -1.5 at +155. That's
gonna be hard to fit in my parlay next to Svechnikov, So
that won't quite work for you. No, I mean that one. If you're taking a player prop, I think the Rubé Hintz to score in like a 2 or 3. Maybe if you just do like Rubé Hintz to score first, just on its own too. Just have some crazy fun with that. Like that might be the way to do it. Honestly,
that is a good one. What are the odds on that?
Rubé Hintz to score first.
Yep.
+1,400.
14-1. Nice. Yeah.
14-1.
Yeah, we can be Chris Meany too. I see him always like, oh, look at this. He said the bet 19-1, the guy hit. And sometimes when you're good, you're good. So we'll try and take some of that magic and bring it into this show. I do like the value there though in Rupe Hintz. So yeah, let's talk for a quick second. It's gone on a while, but let's talk about DFS. Starting with some goalies. To me, this feels like a slate where I'm taking some value in that. Like, if you're siding with Ottawa, their guys are really underpriced. Montreal's a team with really low shot danger in general. And even if they lose, they could still get the bonus. And that's really all I want in a goalie. So I'm okay with Ottawa, but also Minnesota, 7.3 for their goalies on DraftKings. And even Linus Ullmark, if he's 7K starting on a back-to-back, we know he's solid enough, and we saw him put up a big game on Wednesday. So there's just, a number of options, I think, that just makes sense right off the bat. But any other thoughts in that, or just want to get the top stacks?
I think that most of my lineups are going to end up having Saros if he starts. I think there's really that big of a difference between him and Rene that if Rene's in, I will just pretty much exclude that to Saros. I think he's a legitimately great goalie, and he's red hot right now. So if he's in at 7,500, I'm in on that. I think Ullmark is the best cheap one just because he is actually very good. I think if he's in, that Tech game is probably more like a 5-goal game, and the Sabres, if they somehow go back-to-back wins, which I think they're allergic to that, so maybe you shouldn't do it, but that would be fun. And then upper priced, I think Vasilevsky's obviously the play, but there might not be enough shot volume to make it worth it. So Tampa has given up a couple, back-to-back games against with Vasilevsky and net. There was over 40 shots against them in 2 losses. So this could be a big bounce back for him if you want to go all the way up.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. I'm not a guy who does that, but it makes sense.
No, I know.
The value is there. It's not
there's so much value on this slate.
So
yeah.
All right. As far as a couple top DFS stacks, and again, if you want to hear us talk about this DFS slate in depth, head on over to the Morningscape podcast. We would love your listen, your interaction with that as well. But just a couple of stacks to get you started on your DFS days. I will lead one off. The Rangers' second line, Ryan Strome, Artemi Panarin, Capo Kakko. Panarin's been awesome. Strome has been surprisingly shooting. Both those guys team up on the top power play, which is pretty good. And then Kakko is just far too cheap. He scored last game. He's just been involved with that line, and he's really cheap for a really good matchup. So, DJ, how about you?
Yeah, I could go either way with line 1 or line 2 here, but I'll go line 2 as well. Trocheck, Svechnikov, Hamilton. I'm hopeful that Trocheck finds his way back onto the first power play unit. They had a loss. I don't think that the power play did not score for them, correct? Yeah, I'm almost positive on that. So I think they change it back up, get their elite rate shooter, Trocheck, back on the first unit, and those 3 all have, shot on goal upside as far as hitting the bonus. Is it going to happen? Probably not all 3 of them in a vacuum, but 2 of them hit the shot bonus, and you get a couple goals. That could be the stack that wins the whole slate for sure.
Yeah, are you playing a D-man with that or?
Oh, Hamilton. Yes, Hamilton.
Okay. Sorry, I might have missed it.
Yeah, if you want to take a cheap D-man, I think it's Brady Shea. By the way, he's not correlated on the power play, but there's enough run with him and enough sample size for me to think that he's a decent enough rate shooter that could work out.
Yeah, so I will take, even though the over-under is 5 in Dallas-Nashville, it feels, again, I feel like I like the over there, so I'll take a stack from that game. You could talk me into Tolvanen and Yossi, but I'm going to go with Dallas. You talked about Miro Heiskanen having some really good shot numbers lately. You grab him, you grab Rupe Hintz, you grab Jason Robertson. Those guys are priced up, to commemorate their awesome performance as of late. But frankly, if you look at that and think this is the new normal for those guys, they are mispriced still. They have been that good. And frankly, we might see lower ownership because Vegas just does not like this game as far as pace goes. And I don't think I agree with that. So give me that Dallas stack to get things going.
Yeah, I think my last one, I know you might not quite be as high on this, but I'm still in on it. Suzuki, Anderson, and Weber. I think Weber is maybe one of the biggest misprices on DFS in the entire slate. Him and Heiskanen are the staples of my lineups. That's going to be how I build a lot of things just around those 2 defenders in general. So I don't know if there might be a couple lineups where I don't include them, but if I make 5 to 10 lineups, I'm going to have them in more than half.
No, I absolutely like Montreal because they offer a lot of value on DFS. So I think that's definitely a good stack. So that will do it for us. Be sure to follow the Mayo Media Network on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. It's on the screen here. And lastly, make sure you head on over to prizepicks.com. Use promo code MMN when you sign up. It is MLB opening day, so get some cross-sport entries in. Use some of our talking about NHL. Get some of your favorite pitchers. All the good pitchers are going on Thursday, and also I mentioned this on Tuesday as well. But check out the Pat Mayo podcast with the FTN guys. Talking about the MLB season, talking about the optimizer that FTN provides at ftndaily.com. I think you'll learn something even if you use different optimizers, and maybe it'll convince you, to use the FTN optimizer, which sounds really, really cool, and really excited to use it for this season. When you sign up for FTN Daily, use promo code Mayo, and that'll give you a discount. So, DJ, anything that I missed here before we head into our Thursdays?
No. I think we pretty much covered everything. Thank you for listening again. Follow me at DJ_Mitchell94. Follow Matt at Fake Moods. Follow Mayo Media Network. And
there's a cat.
There is a cat behind Matt. It's good luck, cat. Matt rhymes. That's all I got. That's gonna do. Hopefully there was no issue with my video. I hope that didn't come through. So apologies if it did.
All right. That'll do it for us. Good luck on Thursday, everybody. See ya.